Hello and welcome to Living the Zolkeen. On today's episode, we're talking with my friend and classmate Jamie about a model that she has created as an overview of the entire 260 days process of the Zolkeen. There's lots of fascinating connections and insights in this episode, so I hope you guys enjoy. Did you start with Hoon Bats as an arbitrary start? Did you just pick that randomly, or was that like sort of a generally accepted, especially in this lineage of studying the calendar, that's sort of the generally accepted starting point?
Um, well, yes and no. So I started with the 13 Akmok tracena because it was the owner, it housed 8 bats, which is the lineage that we follow's New Year, the Mayan New Year.
Right.
So I chose that, but as I was beginning to look through it and see these seasons, then it started to make more sense that a vision starts starts with a plan, and then you get that vision moment through 13 Akmok. That's not always the case, obviously. Sometimes I think in my mind I've got it worked out this way because I was very attached to starting it with the 13 Akmok tracena. I think that it works both. Either you can start a plan or whatever. Obviously, you can start anytime at any tracena to do anything. But in this kind of conceptualized way, you can either start with a plan with 13 Akabal, or you can get thrust into something blindly with 13 Akmok.
Oh my good God, look at you go. That's an amazing coin flip right there. Yeah, exactly. Um, for me, when I thought about 8 bots, part of the significance was 8 bots was its connection to 1 bots.
Right?
Because one is obvious starting place. 8 is an obvious returning place.
Returning.
And then yeah, it's an obvious returning place. And so if you're gonna pick a returning place, I mean that would be your day. But if you wanted to pick a starting place, then your day would be the 1. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I liked how you just you kind of put it up to the end user, like, look, you could do both. And you could say you want to be a blind asshole or you want to have a plan. It's just like yeah.
It's these little things like that, though,
It's
right?
funny. I don't mean to say blind asshole. That's too rude. But to be 13 Akmak. But when you put it like that, to me, the obvious choice is 13 Akabal.
Right. Well, it's definitely the one that starts a better foundation for the whole thing. And then it leaves us to starting in a very kind of strong place with with the black colors. Every kind of season starts with either Akabal, Zikin, Kia, Kawoq, or Bats. And then it ends in a very very kind of emotional state, I think, in each one, which
What
makes
was
sense.
then it ends in 13 Akmak rather than beginning.
Yeah. Then each season ends with a
Is that
white.
right? No. It ends with what? 13C. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's go. Let's start it from Hoon Bats and
One bat.
13 Akabal, 13 Akabal, and let's go through it again. So we have,
Okay.
yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so the vision season starts here at the top with 13 Akabal going to 13 Akmak, 13 Toch, and 13 Ik. This is when you start the plan with 13 akabal, you're planning and have lots of thoughts, right? With 7 noch, which shoots us out to 13 akmak, which is where we're envisioning this results. We're collecting the results kind of in our mind for this goal. And we have emotions regarding that, which shoots us over to 13 toch, which is where we feel sacrifice. Do we have what it takes to govern this, whatever it is? And so we come back to the plan after dealing with our emotions regarding those things, and our sacrifice, whether we will or won't make it. We come back to the plan with 7 akabal and that 13 toch trecena, which shoots us into the 13 ik trecena, where we will begin to animate. We will begin to, put forth our effort into that results. Then we go down to the conception or zygote, where we literally have the 13 zikin potential male principle and the 13 kanil, which is the female principle. Well, the 13 zikin, goes direct to get that sacrifice. You make that sacrifice. We've had it there last time in the vision. We decided we would, and now we are making that sacrifice with 7 toch in this, going forward with 13 zikin on top of the seed, which suits us on top of the seed. Kind of like a metaphorical ejaculation onto that, and then breathing, then the animation really begins, really gets shot out with that 7 ik. Which gives us that animation, shoots us into pushing forward our flow, the potential, what we want to happen. And again, we push forward more male principle, more vision, because Zikin is also associated with vision, into our plan. And then that shoots us into the biggest gestation of what we've been visioning, thinking about, working towards creating. And all of this takes, 2, 4, 6, 8 months to finalize this 13 ish trecena, where we have this very strong seed that is either going to shoot into a plant or not, based off of whatever happens during this transformation, which is like a kind of like the wild card, I think, of
Is it
the whole year.
the 13 Emosh Tracena is the wild card?
I would say the whole time from, I say 13 Emosh and 7 Zikin is still very much with that vision in mind, really pushing forward into that 13 Ish Trecena, and 7 Kanil, it's still very much that pushing that potential and really driving it home. That's 1, 2, 3. That's only 4 months. 4 months to that 13 ish moment. Then the next 2 months is about going into 13 Kia, 13 Hunapu, 13 Ah, and 13 Keme. This is that transformation. This is the wild card season. These 2 months, roughly 2 months, because we're stubborn maybe. That 13 Kia means we have the strength to do it or the stubbornness to do it or both. And really injecting that force into 13 Hunapu, really wanting to shine, wanting to come out from underneath from all this that we've been working on in the dark. And that intense gestation gets pushed over into 13 Ah, which is the change, breathing in the change. Again, Kia comes through here to like give more momentum, more push, like the, contracting of a woman's belly, like actually making this switch. And then 13K May is where this transformation of this inner world, of this vision, starts to get support, or it begins to feel maybe suffering. There's something lacking, or there's something working. That's kind of like the finalizing this season. And based off of that, you get to feel the human experience of those previous few months. So the next row is the human experience with 13 Kawoq, 13A, 13 Con, and 13 T hash. Because there's a lot of communication, in the Kawoq trecena and through the A and through the Con. All three of those have lots of communication, but they're mainly about 13 Kawoq has the biggest accumulation of communication, and it shoots out that change. So we're accumulating change, and based off of these communications, that change is made. And then it goes into walking the path. It's the actual animation beginning from what it's the animated beginning from what we were conceiving inside of our mind, working towards in private maybe. It's now starting to take shape. And based off of whether you have that support or whether you feel alone or outside of, then you go into 13 Con, where you can either be agitated enough to intervene or strong enough to advocate, and more communication. And then you go to 13 T hash, where so many things have happened, so much is going on, and you need to make a cut. You're not quite sure where, which leads us into the rendering season, which is where the big pattern is seen. 13 Bats holds all of the threads. He's looking through it, looking for the pattern, looking for where knots are, looking for a way to intervene. 7 Con says, you can either get agitated from all the entanglements, maybe there's too many threads. But whatever it is, it shoots us out into doing tasks, lots of tasks in 13 Cat. And then finally, T hash's axe falls with 7 T hash to cut out those things that were entangling. We're making a mess of the pattern. It just wasn't working out. And that shoots us out into 13 Noch, which is now we have all of the thoughts, pertaining to the last 8 months, everything that happened, what worked, what didn't work, and we begin to make more connections with that 7 Bats. That shoots us into our emotions over everything that's happened. And then that 7 Cat moment where we finalize those tasks and it starts over again, where we can see all the rendering, see what has happened, and we can start a new plan.
It's a fantastic
sort of 50,000 feet view. You know, I feel like I'm way up high in an airplane looking down at this, and I'm like, oh wow, it looks so different from up here. You know, and it's very fascinating to look at the whole calendar. You know, on just a piece of paper. Like I wrote out all of the trecenas as you were listing them off, just so I could look at them. You know, and it's very interesting to look at it in these kind of 2 month chunks, and to see the patterns and how they weave together.
Everyone, I mean, you can make so many different kind of analogies for each person, and everyone's going to attach something different to theirs as it should be. But it gives a clear kind of way to see an inner kind of private world to some creating something, and the change when it begins to kind of, really give it lungs. I mean, when a baby is being gestated, um, that's one of the last things to develop is the lungs, and that's, I don't know, it kind of goes hand in hand, I think, that analogy with that third row, with the kia hunapu a and keme. That's kind of that the lungs are finishing, and the consciousness or whatever, the business or whatever, really begins to kind of grow legs and take on its own. And I think that's really important. I think it's really important to be able to work the trecenas instead of just blindly being in a trecena. Obviously, you don't have to work like ceremonial ways or whatever, but just having an awareness allows you to
Paying
maybe
attention to them tunes you in to the to the radio station.
say that again.
Paying attention to them is just like turning your dial. You're turning into it. You're paying attention to it now. Whereas like it would still be happening. It's just you wouldn't notice. But now, as soon as you turn your dial and you sort of start to pay attention, you can hear the music.
Yes. You get to, those little things that you would miss, you get to hear the messages from. That
Yeah,
listening.
it's so hilarious how the Mayan calendar gives all kinds of ridiculous things context. Like, I went swimming, I don't know, last week or something, and uh, I didn't notice, but there was a leech that had grabbed onto my foot, and and it actually came all the way home with me. And so by the time it came off, it was fat. It was as full as it could be. And I looked down, and how I noticed was that I was just bleeding everywhere on my foot. And like it was funny because it was a toch day, and so I just saw it and I was like, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, of course, no toe would make my foot bleed. Right on schedule. And I just thought it was funny. It just it just gave the most ridiculous thing context.
If I have not planned to do a toe ceremony for the morning, because I normally do mine early in the morning, toe will take
Lucky you.
What, to do it early in the morning?
Yeah, I think it's the best time to do it.
Yeah, sometimes though, I think honestly, I think Toch would prefer an evening time as it's first coming in. Toch, I think, like,
of
could be
course.
addressed immediately.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, so for me, I don't want to do it early in the morning. Screw that. But I do it late at night.
Okay.
So I do it. I don't have time to do it early in the morning ever. but it's a cool idea. I like that idea, welcoming the day. I mean, it's so cool. But for me, it's just not a practical thing to do. But for you, like, having the time, I feel like that's proper. However, like, I feel like if you're like a creative person, usually if you stay up all night until around 4 a.m. or so, that's when all the magic stuff happens, is around 4 a.m., right?
Well, that's when I
And
wake
so
up.
that's what I'm saying. There's two ways to get there. Number one, you
Let's
could
take-
go all night and you can meet that 4 a.m. energy, and that's the magical energy, I think. And you talk to a lot of like writers or whoever, they'll always say like, oh yeah, best work's always done at 4 a.m. But then there's the opposite side of the people who wake up crazy early. Well, they have access to that 4 a.m. energy too, but just from the opposite side. And so, to me, I just think like if you're going to work ceremonially, that's the best energy to work with. Or I don't know the best, but it's really nice stuff.
It
It's like
is,
if,
especially when you can get
yeah,
outside. The
yeah,
stars look amazing at that time.
yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. It's like if you're a chef and you just like have the best tomatoes. You're like, oh wow, you have like the good tomatoes. Like, oh, awesome, sweet. I don't know how to explain it. You got the good peaches.
Got the good peaches. I do enjoy that. And I enjoy too how so when we discuss this and in his book, Apabian has mentioned how this gives the science, this calendar gives the power back to the mother in creation. Well, it also gives the father power too. I mean, every mother's gestation is based off of how she feels pertaining to the relationship of the person whose matter is growing inside of her. And this kind of plays a metaphorical role based off of whomever we're creating with. Because yes, you can create things on your own, but even inside yourself, most of us have some variation of male or female energy. And some of us, some maybe more than others, particularly if you might have like a very masculine nominal or numeral mixed with the opposite. You might have this inner contradiction. So no matter what you're creating, whether it's a song or a story or whatever it is, you're a business, whatever relationship, you have confliction between that male and female aspect of yourself. So I know a few people, it's worse with females who have this contradicting energy, but it's interesting to see some of the way that they develop or create in their life, work in their life, how they have these big contradictions to it. And you could see that if what they were creating were a baby, how the Nawal would take effect, what Nawal it would be. And it's all based off of this male and how the male shows up for the female, or more accurately, how the female perceives the male to be showing up regarding whatever. And this is even true even in individuals, even if you're
Well, so
mixing.
then it gets into that word dialogue then.
But we're in this kind of season of these, 4 trecenas where it has a lot to do with communication. So 13 Kawoq, 13A, 13 Con all had this element of communication, of
No
intervening.
doubt. 13 Kawoq, 13 Can. 13A is kind of interesting, but A is very much like a business person or something. They do have like a,
They all require other.
my goodness, you've really tapped into that. That's exactly it. Good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Like bullseye. Exactly. They all require other.
And that's why it is, to me, the human experience, because we all bounce our experience off of and based with and with other. It's a necessary thing. So that's why is that kind of final moment of that. Not final, because the rendering of all of this also includes other, but that's more of our work of what we must do to get to the next vision. Because we're going to always, hopefully, continue to grow and not want more because of wanting things, but just creating more and working more, because that's, I feel like, in general, just the human existence, what we're supposed to do in varying degrees
Yeah,
based on the fear and all.
I think working more sounds more like humble and nice, you know? Like if you say wanting more, you have to like go in and be like, well, that's not what I mean, but what, and you have to explain yourself. Or if you just say working more, everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Everyone enjoys this idea of work, like it gives you this thing, but work is so separate from what it used to be. I mean, work
I
is
can, I consider the difference between work and a job. To me, a job is not work.
oh,
Work is
that's
like, right? Work is working on what you want to do. That's work. A
okay.
job is what you do. It's a money dance. And so some people, their job is their work, and that's amazing, you know. But for a lot of people, it's not. Their work is their work. So that's kind of how I conceptualize it.
I love that, and I'm going to use that now.
Yeah, the Mayan calendar is my work, for example. I love this stuff, and I'll do it no matter what, you know, just because it's fun for me and interesting. So I just keep working on this. Nobody asked me to do it. Nobody's paying me to do it. I just want to do it because I enjoy it. That's my work.
I love it how, um, well, I would love it if we could find a way to figure out how to just incorporate like this. I just keep having in my mind, which might not even be accurate, but I have in my mind a vision of like people learning themselves more, learning that who they are and their basic instincts and all of their um, behaviors and characteristics. Like I
I
said,
well, I like what Frederico said in the last time, which was like, what was it? The Western astrology needed to go more into the dark, more into the private sort of negotiation aspect. He felt like that was a missing element to it, and the Mayan uh, stuff needed to come more into the light. Like it needed to be less obscure, less private, less hidden, more public, more. I thought that was really beautiful, and so just like it just needs to come out into the light. Like it hasn't been seen, nobody really knows about it, and so just doing out in public and having people know about it. I think it's the first step to to tasting it or you know to giving it a try because most people haven't even seen any of this stuff.
which is crazy to me.
It is.
I
It is, but it isn't. Like for me, I actually have like maybe I'm just being like reverse psychologying myself, where I'm like, man, I'm happy it's private. Like I like the fact that it's niche. It reminds me of like my favorite coffee shop that nobody knows about. I'm like, oh yeah, this place, it's awesome, and like I go there and I enjoy it and like it's just chugging along, and like I enjoy the fact that it's not Starbucks.
I get that too, and I feel the same way. But I have
So
so many people that I come across that I'm like, if you just knew this is your child, like leave him alone. He's fine. Like
right.
that's just him. So I see the suffering from others, and I'm like, God, if you just knew, you could just, maybe at least be offered a little bit of peace, or I don't know, something that it's given me. So I do want to give that back. But at the same time, I feel the same as you. I get it.
Yeah, well, I'm torn, like I feel conflicted about this. Like on the one side, I really enjoy the niche coffee shop aspect to it. But on the other side, like you said, it could be really helpful, and I've seen it be really helpful. It could be so gosh darn helpful.
You could. It
Yeah,
sure could.
it could. It really could. And then so then that's an exciting mission, to try to, you know, to try to share with people and to shine light on it. Take it out of the darkness.
Well, it very much, especially in this time where, God, I don't know about in Japan, but here, um, I just sent that to you, by the way. See if you can open it.
Okay.
Here, I don't even know what we were talking about. I don't think it's sent properly.
No, I was talking about like it's good to bring some of this stuff to light a little bit.
Oh,
And
and that's right. The psychology is huge here. Everyone, a lot of PR is starting to get big companies and stuff to have a psychologist for their staff. And this is sad, right? Like this is crazy because everyone's just feeling so stressed from all of these different things. And it's because they have this big separation, between um, who they are and who they're supposed to be. So we have this big cookie cutter kind of, this is our society, this is what an optimal, functioning member of it looks like, fit into that box. Well, we may not be in that box. We are in our own Nawal box. And it would be really cool to see, everybody kind of understanding this. And a Nawal, like to explain what what a Nawal is so nuanced for each individual. It's too big, like you said, to hold.
one word. Give me your best know-all definition. When someone asks you, "What's a know-all?" Give me a one-word answer. What do you got?
It's everything.
Okay. I was gonna call because I've been thinking about this a lot, but my one-word answer for the definition of know-all is atmosphere. It's an atmosphere. And the best way to explain it is that it kind of acts like a radio station.
It
So
does. And then it has these predispositions that filter into everything, including physical tissue. Like a baby.
it's almost like you're listening in to Noah Kawoq FM. Like
Look, once you begin to listen, they start yelling at you.
yeah, and they have different songs they play, but they all have the same. It's almost like it's by the same artist or something, or it's the
Right.
same genre. That's the jazz station. That's the country station, etc.
Yeah. Atmosphere is good.
Right? Because then, like, you just woke up on a Hunak Poo day, and it's like dun 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 dun. They're like, "Hello, it's a Hunak Poo day today." Yeah,
And it
yeah,
falls over anything it touches, right?
yeah,
Whatever.
etc. Yeah. I mean, the normals all have their characteristics. You wake up. I'm trying to think of the different soundtracks. Like, you wake up on a con day and it's like dun 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 Foxy dun 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 lady.
My friend, my friend calls me. I talk to her often, and in the morning. So her Nawal is K-May. So she calls me during her con moments in the morning, and it is definitely some. Dun, 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 dun. is funny. And it's so penetrating or permeating that these energies, these atmospheres, you can feel it. You can literally, even people who don't follow the calendar will wake up and I'm so mad today. I don't know why.
Well, if you know how radio works, like the sound isn't actually coming from the radio. It's just a conduit. The sound is actually in the air,
Right.
right? And so the radio is just sort of set up to sort of vibrate at the right frequency. And once it's sort of there, then all of a sudden, whatever song is playing. And so that's kind of how I feel, because otherwise, like, I don't know. Anyways, these are the most simple kind of metaphors that I've used to be able to explain it to people so that they can kind of understand. So yeah, because otherwise you could sit down and talk to them for an hour and their head is spinning, and then like then they walk away confused, basically.
Introduction is the hardest part to any of it. You have to, it's just slowly layering it over is when it begins to take shape. It's like a piece of.
That's why I like the niche coffee shop aspect about it. Like, I feel like, if this calls you, this is for you then. But if it doesn't, then like, don't even worry about it. These aren't the droids for you.
It's like a flow. It's like a flow that's so slow, and you have to heat it up for it to actually be fluid. Otherwise, it'll still drip like tar drips extremely slowly. If it's just on its own, waiting for the gravity to take it by its own. But if you heat it up with some consciousness or some attention, then you can see this beautiful fluidity that it has.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it is quite a task. That's why I thought it would be cool to put like Japanese anime characters to it, like little Pokemon, so that like you could explain to kids via, characters, like cartoon characters or something. It's easy to digest. You can be like, oh, okay, I get it.
It would even be interesting. My brain is all on trecenas right now. But it'd be interesting to see a character pulled out by the trecenas, because there's these different atmospheres and they're all roughly based around the trecenas.
Explain.
I am 7 cat, but I'm of the 13C trecenas. So there's varying social.
Oh, good God.
There's the varying social degrees within those trecenas. So yes, we have the 260 days, but that we have just the 13 trecenas that have anyone in C trecena will have a similar social role they play. They'll have a similar thing that people expect them to do or be or behave socially. They'll behave in a similar kind of way privately or experience similar things in their home atmosphere. I mean, obviously to varying degrees, but if you take a look at a person in that way, according to their trecenas, then you have less characters. That would be easier to kind of maneuver.
It's almost like they're all on the soft rock radio station, but you got various sort of flavors of soft rock. I'm bringing it back to the radio station metaphor.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful how that's instinctual. That's another really
yeah, I call it automatic.
It just happens.
Yeah.
You can't
just
change
and
that.
you cannot change it, and And that's why it's sad to see all these sort of modern, what's the word? These modern
Self-help.
takes. No, yeah, self-help, but I was gonna say secular. Like they're they try to claim and paint themselves as though they're non-religious.
Oh
Although
yeah.
although there's no such thing really, if you really get down to it. Um, and and so like their analysis is so shallow usually on a lot of things. They're like, huh, if you're impatient, you should just like brute force yourself to be more patient. It will help. And like they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like facepalm, like, oh Jesus, this guy. This guy's book. This guy's book.
Well, I mean, even to believe in nothing, you still believe something.
That's right. That's what I was listening to all these debates earlier. Like they would corner all these people that were, let's say, scientifically minded, like really highly educated scientists that believe there's no such thing as God, right? And there's all these debates between them and different philosophers and different types of religious people, and everybody has their own ideas. And essentially, like for example, the scientists would appeal to logic, and they would go, "Well, I don't need faith. I use logic." And then the religious guys would always corner them, like, "Yeah, but where did logic come from? Like, we can't just grant you logic. Logic obviously came from something. Like, it's not, And so that they would just sort of um, go to like a meta argument. Escape. You have to have metaphysical beliefs. You know.
And that's where everything starts inside. And the fact that a calendar just a calendar process. I mean, and just the fact that there is something, it's all in like an Akabal kind of state, right? Which is amazing because if you start with 13 Akabal, everything's laid out and organized in a way that is like an algorithm or a code that can be varied, like exponentially, so
Right.
that way the results are endless out
But
of just a few
within a set, like there is an
within a
order
set
to it too. Like it's almost like chess. Like there's infinite possibilities of the chess game, but within the game.
within a finite amount, and
Right.
that's the thing that's really, I mean, and just the fact that there's that, the fact that even if all we have is the elements that we know to exist, the fact that those elements exist and are in a pattern of their own, I mean, they're in their own weighted classes too. I mean, and that's just a quote natural order. But that order had to come from something.
It did
I
have to
imagine.
come from no. It did have to come from something. Yeah, because you can't just grant it. Like, oh yeah, it's always been here. Like, no. You'd have to appeal to something better, whether it's evolution or something. But even evolution starts with like abiogenesis, and so then you're pointing already to abiogenesis, and then like but then abiogenesis assumes that the world already exists. So where'd you get the world from? Well, I don't know, etc. And so like as soon as you start really just think about, well, what's that based on, you start to get into metaphysical realms pretty quickly.
I was a while ago really into going deep into this idea of magic and science, and how for a long time, the two were separated, and magic was seen as it was used to be kind of the science of old time, but now it's like a fringe and it's psi and it's not what other scientists or physicists would refer to as real science. But everywhere across the world, people have their own kind of magic or metaphysical beliefs that they believe in. I mean, Christians have, their own intention, and they light candles and they pray to this and they pray to that, which is just a symbol, a person or a symbol that means something else. So to believe that you don't believe in something, even if you speak, you
That's
believe
right.
in something.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
If you have a dialogue with anyone and you agree that something is, then I mean that's its own form of magic, which is a metaphysical belief, which is even anyone believing in whatever
That's
God they believe in is
yeah.
a form of magic.
That's what I was saying. Like, if you can properly sort of place these ideas, like, there's no way not to have a metaphysical belief. It's impossible. Everybody has it. They just might not be aware of it. It's impossible to escape this paradigm. As soon as you speak, you've already contradicted yourself.
Just
That's
the
basically,
words, it's crazy.
yeah, just the words themselves already prove that you're, that you believe something that has no, uh, it's not grounded in anything physical. Yeah, and so then, you arrive to these ideas by thinking logically. If you think logically all the way to the very top, it's true. Like, there's no escaping it. It's almost like a chess match at the end. You're like, checkmate. You can't move.
Then they're just essentially the 2-year-old asking why.
Right. And also not
So
budging too, like not accepting a nonsense answer too. They're like, why? Challenging the 7-day week is amazing. Nobody goes there, you know. Yeah, it's just like cornering a scientist and go, where does logic come from? Prove it. And they're like, well, there's no charts and physics, and like it's like you don't know. You're just borrowing logic. You're just, your whole thing relies on something that you don't understand. Say it. And like if you corner them, they actually have to say that, right?
yeah, why is it Monday through? And then, I mean, they were
It's
adding
one of
on.
those cornerstones. Like, where does 7-day week come from?
Right, and
Say it.
the 9-month year is more of a consciousness year.
Yeah, well, there's lots of ways to look at it, but yeah, for sure, I think so. I mean, just tying it back to,
Personal creation of how
yeah,
long it takes to be done with a situation and moving on to the next mentally.
it's a unit of time based on how long it took you to be created, and it's relevant to you. And they're like, no way, the amount of time that it took me to be created is relevant to me. And you're like, yeah, that's right. And they're like, no way, man. You're like, yeah, way.
Well, and it's how long it takes us to create, like as like a man or a woman. Like
That's true.
no matter
Or vice
what,
versa.
you come through the whole 260 days just leads you going up, that you start planning. When you look at it in just one cycle, it ends in your, emotions and doing tasks, which just spits you out to a new plan because, it all just cycles through. And it takes that long to create something.
Yeah, well, it just makes sense that amount of time would be relevant to you. And it's a logical thing to consider. And if you test it, you'll see that it operates that way. That it's true. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But then your whole model that you're presenting today is that you can use this for sort of creative projects, you know, entrepreneurial projects or building all sorts of things.
Yeah, just because the energies they lend their energies to those things specifically in those ways. Like there's a time to come together and communicate, and there's a time to be private, and there's a time to conceptualize, and there's a time to do the thing, and there's a time to reevaluate the thing.
So how
And
long have you been?
these are just in the atmosphere, so why not use them while they're there?
Right. Well, it's just, yeah, you wouldn't, if you didn't know that they were there, you wouldn't know how to capitalize on them consciously.
Which isn't to say that you can't,
Right.
but
Well, that's why I said consciously, because you might accidentally just be in the flow of things or whatever, and you might be able to capitalize on it, but you wouldn't
well,
know.
now it has to be made, right? In the universe, in the walls, or whatever. We'll toss things around where they'll go.
So then, how long have you been watching this system like this? You know, this breakdown of the calendar year.
So I started a while ago from a female perspective. And then whenever we started going over the trecenas the very first time, and the 13, so a couple years, whenever taught about 1371, then I started to see how they got together. And then it was the last maybe year, almost a year, that I started seeing it in the whole long piece. I was like, oh, I've been working this since this point, and it's made blah, blah, blah.
I see. So you sort of started noticing a kind of higher resolution.
Yeah, when I'd be writing
Pattern.
out dates in the morning and it would be getting time to the next tracena, I'd start doing the stuff and I'd write it in the chats some here and there, even longer ago, a while ago. And then I just do it in my notes because I felt like it was getting redundant, the words I was using. So then I was starting to think I would write it out and then I would meditate on it. And then I would lose it, the whole thought. If you start working your way through the whole, like you said, it can be too much going 8, 9, da 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 da, or 8, 2, whatever, 1,
Right.
8,
I
2,
know.
blah blah. So I'd write it out and then the key words, and then I would meditate on it, and then I would write what it meant to me in my life. And then I started realizing I could do that. And then with Shikoyo Pai, I started realizing I could do that for McKenna. Because when I would write it out for me and she would see what we're doing or something, it would be different. Like hers is going to be different than mine. And Shikoyo Pai can tell you, like, that's not going to be right. And it'd immediately tell you if you fix it, which is also cool.
And Skoyopa is the blood which is speaking.
Yeah, it's the metaphysical dialogue with the nawals inside of the body.
Well, it's physical in the sense that you can feel it. You can feel it in the different parts of your body.
Right.
You know, and even you can watch it too. Like it is physical.
It's both, because it comes when you're conceptualizing things or trying to or thinking about something. Sometimes it happens just with nothing, no thought attached. That's when I first started feeling it because I was very frustrated when I couldn't feel it. That's just a game changer. And I think that is part of what allows you to help test your, because, I mean, we all have a varying degrees of intuition, and whether we choose to use it or not, or call it whatever. I think it helps to do that. Helps you trust, all right, this is definitely not what I should be doing.
Yeah, I feel like we're just like swimming around in radio, in like a sea of radio stations, you know, and we almost like a compass, like we need to be able to navigate our way through it. And so
Wow.
the Scoia'taw is just like, it's like a tool. It's like, it's almost like a captain's like broken compass, and you're like, "Yar, that way be land," you know, and you just kind of lost at sea. And the Scoia'taw is really your, you know, your North Star, or it's something that will help you get across the ocean safely, or even alive. Because once
I
it's
love that it's ruled by Kawoq. And Kawoq is the healer that comes up with the crazy ideas, the things that you don't think that is outside of the box. Right? That's what
yeah,
healing is that okay, you're gonna go get a black chicken, you're gonna
right.
bleed it, you're gonna rub that on your body, and it's gonna take care of your shingles. It fucking works. I don't know why. Why does that work? I don't know. But it works. You go get all
Yeah.
this medicine from the doctor, you can't do it. But Kawoq's
And
like, hey,
then there'll be some guy coming and like, actually, it's a nucleic acid which is found only in black chickens, which
yeah,
is reacts chemically with the you know
right. But
with the
did we have to
disease
tell
shingles. Yeah, but
and
Kawoq got there by getting naked and running around and running on the street with a chicken.
oh my gosh. Yes, because
Well,
that's the beautiful thing of Kawoq. You follow them too. You're like, okay, I'm gonna let them go first, but I'll see where this goes. I'm gonna do it.
that's true. Actually, wow. Here's an expression for Kawoq. I'm gonna let them go first, but I want to see where this goes.
Yeah, like you gotta watch. Because it might function and it's like, all right, I'm gonna manipulate that a little, figure out how I can make it 7 cat, and we're gonna go with it.
I always say, yeah, Kawoq is the greatest show in town. Always, it's the greatest show in town every time. But it's very much like a fasten your seatbelts kind of energy. Like,
And
oh shit,
that's the square part when you allow it to be what it is. When you
that's
allow
true.
it, it's kind of a
Wait,
buckle up and just go with it. And if you don't, that's okay too, but you always regret it. I just um and
I
I
feel, I
journal.
feel like I feel like people like check in and out as their will. That's why I like this idea of like, if this isn't, if you know, if you don't like knitting, then leave the knitting club. This is knitting. This is knitting night. We knit
Yeah,
here.
because some people don't believe in yarn. You know what I mean?
Right. They don't believe in yarn. You're not one of those yarn deniers, are you? You don't believe in yarn? The fuck's the matter with you? Get out of here. Shoo. Yarn tard. Yeah, yarn denier. We don't have time to be hanging out with yarn deniers like you. Get on out.
You're a
The word,
yarn anchor.
dude. The word yarn is funny. You don't
Also,
believe in yarn? Get the fuck out of here.
you're probably also like sleep deprived too, so you're like yarn.
Yeah, I'm totally sleep deprived. It's well past midnight. I'm just I'm just like past like half asleep on the couch, like, uh,
Well, I think we
yarn.
probably be any type of cool things I have to talk about.
No, maybe I'm gonna send it out with a newsletter. So we're gonna do another newsletter on the next Trecena, and I also asked Nick to help out. He said he wanted to help out too, so I'm gonna do that hopefully. But even if not, I still want to do it anyways. And so I will have the interview. So I'm gonna have the interview finished, and then I'll send it out together with the newsletter.
Yeah, I don't know. Good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, well,
I appreciate it and thank you.
I'll do my cat stuff on all this and put it all out and stuff. And
yeah, let's just try to make sure we can get the newsletter out on number one Kawoq.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I will get ready before then. Sweet
All right.
dreams.
Bye-bye. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in Jamie's analysis of the Hoon Kawoq tracena, please, you can sign up to the newsletter, and the link to sign up is in the description of the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed, and remember to keep on living that Zolkeen.